My name is Debra Resonfeld. I'm Assistant Director of Counseling and BioSci Careers. And today we'll be talking about online job searching. And welcome to BioSci Careers Transition Series, which we are videotaping and putting online for everybody at Stanford to see. So tonight we're going to talk about top job search websites. We'll go over key features, tips, and demos. And we'll be covering Indeed, LinkedIn, Glassdoor, and Biospace. So Indeed is a leading job site with millions of job listings from thousands of websites. And this is from this year in Forbes, top 10 best websites for jobs. And the key feature that I really like and use a lot is the ability to create weekly advanced job alerts. So what I'm going to do is give you a demo on using Indeed. So Indeed.com aggregates job postings from all over the internet. It has the greatest number of job postings of just about any website. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up an advanced job search, and then we're going to set that up to have it send you the latest job postings over the last week and have it come to you once a week. So I'm going to type in here a search term, and I'm using cancer biology, and going to click Find Jobs. But what I would like to do is do an advanced job search. So we can get a little bit more refined than that. Because right now you'll see that 262 jobs came up, but that's a lot. So I'm going to click here on Advanced Job Search. And we'll leave the term cancer biology under this search box with all these words. And go ahead and scroll on down to show jobs of type. And this one you can leave on all job types if you're open to temp jobs or part-time jobs. But let's say you're only looking for a full-time job, you'll select full-time job. And this next box where it says show jobs from all websites, just go ahead and leave that on all websites. I recommend not putting in a salary estimate. This I found is not very accurate. A lot of companies don't update this. So you might want to leave this blank, or you can create a separate search with your desired salary range and also search on the same term like cancer biology, leaving the salary estimate blank. So you could see if you're missing out on jobs. And then choose the radius that you want to search. So let's say 50 miles from Stanford. And because we're going to set up a weekly alert, you can set this to jobs that were posted within 7 days. So that way, every weekend, you'll get a new alert with the jobs for the last week. You're not going to have to dig through all the old postings. I usually like to see about 20 per page, but you can set that up how you'd like. And keep it on sorted by relevance. Click Find Jobs. And now 29 jobs have shown up as having been posted in the last week. So now, how do you set up your job alert? What you do is you go over here where it says, be the first to see new cancer biology jobs in this zip code. Click on this box here, and then click Activate. So that has just activated my alert. Now, one of the wonky things about Indeed is that you would think there might be a button saying alerts, but there is not. So the way you get to your alerts is you click on your name. So originally you're going to have to set up an account, and the accounts are free and they're very simple. Click on your name and then go to My Subscriptions. And here you can see the alert that I just set up. I want to change it to weekly though instead of daily, so I'm going to click on weekly. And then you'll see two opportunities here to receive recommended jobs or relevant job opportunities. It's up to you if you want to receive those or not. You can try it and see if it's sending you interesting jobs. If not, you can uncheck those. So that's how you set up an Indeed job alert. The other thing you might want to do is play around with the keywords that you use. So let's say, for example, you type in cancer biology and you find an interesting job description. Look through the job description and highlight all the other terms that you might want to search on that are relevant. So let's say immunology is one of them. I might want to set up another alert for immunology. And let's see what this will bring up. So that brings up 512 jobs, brings up a lot more, and then you would go through those same steps we just went through in terms of creating advanced job search for it. But the benefit of having several different keyword searches is you'll see which ones are more productive in bringing you the job postings that are more relevant for you. So that is Indeed. Now we're going to talk about LinkedIn. LinkedIn to me is by far the most powerful job search tool that exists. You've got to have a LinkedIn profile. People will ask that all the time. Do I need to have one? Yes, you absolutely need to have a LinkedIn profile, especially if you're looking for a job in industry. So go back over here. There are three key features to LinkedIn. One is the ability to find recruiters at companies of interest. One is to locate and contact hiring managers. And the last is to discover potential people with whom you can do an informational interview. And informational interviews are when you have an informal conversation with somebody who is currently doing a type of job that you're interested in, or maybe they recently had been doing this job. And as you can see here, about 95% of recruiters use LinkedIn. So it's really, really important to have a great profile. So let's start by looking for a recruiter. Imagine that you're interested in working at Myocardia, which is a up-and-coming startup company right now. So I'm going to type Myocardia into the search bar here and followed by the word recruiter. And let's see what happens. So that brings up 11 people in my network, both first and second degree. Now, first degree connections on LinkedIn are people with whom you're directly connected. Second degree connections are people who are connected to your connections. And the reason why this is important to know is that you can send an email directly to your first degree connections, but you can also send a message to your second degree connections. You can use 299 characters to send a message. And that's actually plenty to introduce yourself to someone you don't know. So what you would do at this point is you would then scroll through and check the recruiters' profiles and see if they recruit for the types of positions that you're interested in. So this is one of the big benefits excuse me, of LinkedIn, the ability to look for a recruiter. Now, Myocardia is a small company, so only 11 recruiters show up. But if you were to type in Genentech and then the word recruiter, look what's going to happen. That brings up 2,400 results, which is obviously way too many. So then you would want to narrow it down. First, you can filter by connections, and you can choose first and second degree connections and hit apply. Next, you might want to choose a local recruiter, so you could set the location to the San Francisco Bay Area. And third, you can choose Genentech as the current company, because right now what's going on is not only are you seeing current Genentech recruiters, you're seeing recruiters who previously worked at Genentech. So I'm going to click on Genentech, hit apply, and now it's narrowed down to 37 recruiters in the San Francisco Bay Area. So this is what you do when you're looking at a bigger company versus a really small local company, like a smaller local company like Myocardia. Now, I also mentioned that LinkedIn is an excellent place to look for the hiring manager in case you want to get directly in touch with the hiring manager for a position. And I'll tell you briefly my story about how I wound up here at Stanford. I went onto LinkedIn and I typed in career counseling into this search bar here. Stanford. And let me clear the filters first. So as you can see, that brings up a lot of results. I went to my first and second degree connections, changed the location to the San Francisco Bay Area, and then added Stanford. So at that time, I did not know that Stanford School of Medicine had its own career center. So what I probably did was just clicked on Stanford University. But as you can see, pretty much everyone involved with career services is listed here. From here, I discovered that there was a School of Medicine Career Center, and then I was able to find Stephanie Eberle's profile, and she's the director of the Career Center. So then what I did was I went to the Stanford website, found her email, and then I sent her a cold email asking to talk about the possibility of working together on career services. And voila, that's how I wound up here. So you can do that as well. Say you're interested in a company, but there's no job posting. You can find the hiring manager who looks like they might be the right person, and you can contact them and let them know your interest in the company, and you can ask if they'd be willing to chat about potential future opportunities at the company. Another thing you can do is you can find people that you can do informational interviews with. So say, for example, I'm interested in working at Merck, but I really want to know more about what is it like to be a scientist at Merck. What I would do, I'm going to clear my filters first, and then I'm going to type Merck scientist into the search bar, and I'm going to type Stanford because I would like to talk to somebody who works at Merck now but was previously at Stanford as a PhD or a postdoc, because that's a warm connection rather than a complete stranger, which is a cold connection. And as you can see here, I've got 439 people showing up. I'm going to reduce that to first and second degree connections. I'm going to choose the San Francisco Bay Area. And I'm going to leave current companies blank because I don't want somebody who's currently working at Stanford. So now here are potentially 96 people who work at Merck who at one point worked at Stanford. So now when you go to reach out to one of these people, you can say, I saw that you were at Stanford as a postdoc. I'm currently at Stanford as a postdoc, and I was wondering if you'd be willing to talk with me about your experience at work at Merck as a scientist. And that can be your introduction to talking to somebody for an informational interview. And let's see here. For people that I'm not connected with, for example, my secondary connections, what I would do is I would click on the connect button, and then it gives you the opportunity to add a note. Click add a note. Here's where you can write your 299 character message to that person. And I'm actually going to go over how to do this note in a moment. And then you send the invitation afterwards. And one last thing I'd like to show you with LinkedIn are the groups. Now, under the Work tab here, if you click on that, you'll see a link to groups. These are special interest groups throughout LinkedIn, and I encourage you to join your alumni groups and other groups of interest. And as you can see, I am, for example, in, let's see here. So you can see here, Stanford ADC Consulting Club, in case you're interested in doing consulting. You can find groups of interest, you can join them. And what's the benefit of that? The benefit is that, let's say there's somebody I want to talk with, somebody I don't know well. I'm actually going to type in Marlene Scherer-Stern, who was presenting last hour. And what you'll see here is that she and I have, let me find it, 4 mutual groups in common. So that's another warm connection. I could message her and say, I noticed we're both in the career development group on LinkedIn. I'm interested in learning more about what you do at Stanford. Would you have a little bit of time to talk with me? So it's another way to introduce yourself as well. So I'm going to briefly go over 9 tips for expanding your LinkedIn network. This is very important. I have about 3,700 connections of my own. So you want to start developing your own network. One of the ways is to connect with people like me and Marlene and Stephanie Eberle and MJ Mangiarelli, all the coaches here at BioSci Careers, because that will give you about 10,000 second-degree connections. So invite everyone that you know to connect. That's the first thing that I encourage you to do. Ask your connections to introduce you. So if there's somebody you want to talk to at Gilead, for example, and you have a friend who works at Gilead or someone you've met in the past, you can ask that person to introduce you. Be sure to craft a complete profile. That way when recruiters are looking through your profile, they'll be able to tell really easily whether or not you are potentially a good fit for the job. Be sure to post a good photo. Photos for LinkedIn need to be square photos. So when you take it on Square, just use a blank background like a white wall and put on some kind of professional top. I encourage people to accept all reasonable connection invitations. So stranger asks you to connect. If you see that you have something in common, maybe you're studying in the same field or they're another postdoc or somebody at Stanford, by all means connect. And even if you can't figure out the relationship, if it looks like a legitimate profile, they've got a photo, they've got it fleshed out, there's really nothing to lose. You can always, quote unquote, unfriend somebody if you have any problems. But there's just another way to expand your network. So when the connection is not obvious, you can send a quick, clear introductory note, and we were just talking about this. So for example, hi Dr. Johnson, I'm completing my PhD in psychology at Stanford, trying to decide whether having a psychology private practice is going to be a good career choice for me. I see that you've been in private practice for 15 years. Would you be open to briefly talking about your experience? Thank you for your consideration, Maya. So that gives you an idea of what can fit into 299 characters. So I just mentioned joining interest groups and alumni groups, both from where you are currently and where you went and did your undergrad or a master's degree. It's very important to not look like a stalker. When you are looking at somebody's profile, if you think you're going to come back to that profile again in the future, save it as a PDF. And that way you can just look at the PDF, because every time you look at their photo, it will show up that you looked at them, every time you looked at their profile. And the last thing is that you can blog on LinkedIn, and this is really powerful. Let me go back to LinkedIn here. So I have a blog on my website, and once I post the blog on my website, I will then post it here on LinkedIn. And right here where it says articles and activity, those are my blogs. And the way that you can post a blog is to go click on home, and right here it says write an article on LinkedIn. You click on that button, you add your headline, your photo, and paste your blog right in there. And the benefit of this is if you decide to write some short blogs on your area of expertise, and then you share it with some of your groups on LinkedIn, that's going to give you some good exposure as being an expert in your discipline. But that's only if you have a lot of extra time. So, okay. Next we're going to look very briefly at Glassdoor. So a Glassdoor salary search provides data for specific jobs at specific companies rather than a general estimation. And one of the key features of Glassdoor is that it provides a source of salary information. So let's say, for example, that I want to look for salaries for regulatory affairs at Gilead. The first thing I'm going to do is find Gilead, find their profile. I'm going to type that in here. And then I'm going to search for companies. And there we have Gilead. I'm going to click on that. As you can see, there are a lot of salaries posted, 1.3 thousand. So what I'm going to do is scroll up. I'm going to click on salaries. And in the search box, I'm going to type in regulatory. And there you see a number of salaries for different types of regulatory affairs positions. Now, a lot of these positions only have a few salaries. So, as you know, the smaller the sample size, the less valid that sample size is. But it's better than nothing, the fact that you do have a fair number of regulatory salaries listed here. In order to find out regulatory affairs salaries, in general, you could also look at competing companies, and that will also give you a better idea of regulatory affairs salaries. And the last website that we're going to look at is Biospace. Biospace champions the life sciences industry as a digital hub for news and careers. It has three key features. One is that it posts just life sciences jobs. Two, Biospace offers regional hotbeds, which I'll show you. And three, it posts local career events. So with Biospace, you can do a regular job search like you did on Indeed. But what I want to show you are things that are special to Biospace. One are the hotbeds. So I'm going to click on hotbeds. And what Biospace does is it breaks up the United States into these biotech hotbed regions. So let's say you're thinking, yeah, I might be willing to move to New Jersey. I might be willing to move to Boston. Let's say you're thinking about moving to New Jersey. You can look at the farm country jobs. And if I scroll down here, here are jobs in that area. So this is really handy if you're thinking about moving, or even if you just want to look at Biotech Bay, which is where we are right now. The other thing that Biospace offers is career events, and they do offer events here in San Francisco area, and you can see that the next one is on April 29th. These are free events, and I really do encourage you to go. It's a great opportunity to talk with recruiters and hiring managers, even just to practice talking with interviewers. Every accomplishment starts with the decision to try. The reason I post this here is that job searching can seem overwhelming. We just covered a lot of information. There's a lot of trial and error, but what you'll find is if you just sit down, type a keyword into Indeed, or if you go onto LinkedIn and you just try to find a recruiter at a company of interest, that your job search will start to take form. And it's a matter of just trying. And of course, here at BioSci Careers, we can help you further with your job search. So I'm going to turn this off now, and then I can answer questions.